You're listening to the From Imposter to Empowered podcast. I'm your host, Jill Perrick, a business and mindset coach who specializes in imposter syndrome. If you feel like you're not as smart, capable, or worthy as you actually are, and that someone is going to find you out, then you've come to the right place. I went from being a struggling government worker, working my coaching business on the side, but feeling unworthy and burnt out, to making multiple six figures helping women overcome imposter syndrome so they too can sign clients, make bank, and have the business or career of their dreams. I am nothing special. I have a stuttering disability, ADHD, and I struggle with anxiety and depression. So if I can learn how to feel good enough and overcome my inner imposter, then so can you. Let's dig in. Hello, my loves. Welcome back to the From Imposter to Empowered podcast. I was so excited a couple weeks ago because I onboarded a new client, and something that I've been experiencing is whenever somebody invests in my coaching, they immediately get results. And I think that it is the belief activation. And that is activating that belief in themselves that now they have skin in the game and they have commitment in the game. And now that that has happened, their success is inevitable. And I'm a little woo-woo, not all the way woo-woo, but I'm pretty woo-woo. And I have to say that when you are certain, I think certainty is one of the most powerful tools that we can use for our manifesting game, is being very certain that whatever you want and whatever is something that you want to create for your business or for yourself, that it's just inevitable, that it's going to happen. And that is something that I always lead with whenever, even when I was working my full-time job with the government and I had a lot of thoughts of is this gonna work? I don't know. I don't believe in myself, blah, 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 blah. I still acted as if it was certain. And I use that still to this day where even if I have the thoughts of, I don't know if this is gonna work or whatever it is, I take the action that would solidify the certainty anyways. So even if I'm should I invest in this? I don't know. What if it doesn't work out? These are just all fear-based thoughts that my subconscious thinks are keeping me safe, but I take the action that would solidify the certainty. And I'm telling you this because one of my newest one-to-one clients, she had major imposter syndrome despite having a very successful business, and she was starting to feel drained energetically and emotionally and mentally, and she actually wasn't going to ask 3 clients to re-sign with her. So they were all ending at the same time, and she was loving their work together, but she was afraid to be rejected. She was afraid to be told that if they say no, she was going to make it mean all these things about herself. So on our very first call, we just did a little bit of tweaking with those stories and with that idea, and we just dug deep into those thoughts, and 2 out of 3 of them re-signed. And actually, I think 3 of them could potentially all re-sign because she hadn't even asked the 3rd person yet when she had reached out to me. That was $7,000 in sales that she would not have gotten if she didn't process and work on those feelings of rejection and the imposter syndrome that she was feeling despite all the success that she was having. And I just want to let you know that one-to-one coaching is a magical place to really examine those thoughts and feelings that are affecting your sales and your marketing and the way that you show up. It's affecting your consistency. You're convinced that your brain and the way that you're doing things are wrong and that you shouldn't be doing them this way, and that you're not the one, you're not the special one, and this can't work out for you. But the reason why you're here is because you have some feeling of certainty in your body. Whether your brain can recognize it or not, there is something inside of you that is saying I am supposed to be here. I'm here for a reason. And we make you feel that certainty throughout your whole body and inside of your business in one-to-one coaching. So book a sales call at the link in my bio. We will connect and we will change your life and your business forever. So today we're talking a little bit more strategy in terms of clarity with your messaging. But as always, the strategy always comes from your brain, right? So yes, you can have the best strategy in the world, but if your thoughts are all fucked up, then it's going to be really hard to actually execute the strategy and to actually go forward with it, right? And our stories about ourselves and about what we can create will always come through in the way that we try to show up for our businesses. And I'm going to tell you that an inner child wound of being misunderstood, especially if you have ADHD, okay, especially if you have some type of like neurodivergence, you are probably used to over-explaining yourself, and you're probably used to constantly having to affirm that somebody understands you because your beautiful big brain feels very messy. And that's the only, like, I'm sure there's a more technical or professional or eloquent way to say that, but like, I describe it as my head constantly feels messy. It constantly feels disorganized. Like I can't really process what I'm thinking and saying at the same time, and then add on top of it that I have a stutter. So sometimes I can't even communicate what I actually really would like to communicate, right? And clarity in your messaging comes from clarity in your mind. So when a client comes to me and they're like, I feel like I'm not clear with my messaging, I always ask them, what are you confused about? And it's usually, I don't know what result I create for my client. I don't know how to explain what I do. And this is, again, just evidence that the clarity that you're seeking is always going to come from clarity of thought. And when you have some type of neurodivergence, or if you're used to overcomplicating things, over-explaining yourself, always try to be as simple as possible. So if you are feeling this currently, if you're feeling like, okay, I really need to clarify my messaging, what is the simplest way that you can describe how you help somebody? And the caveat to this is, can you describe a result that if you worked with the best client ever, if you had somebody who was like, I'm ready to invest, let's fucking go, I'm going to do all the work. If you had somebody that was certain that they were going to do all the work, and if you yourself had the utmost belief in yourself, what result would you say that you can help them with? So for example, I have a client, a new one-to-one client, who she talks about relationships. And one of the things that she was struggling with was clarity in her messaging. And we got it down to the point of, she wants to be able to help women overcome a very painful breakup. And she was like, but what if they don't? What if it's not good enough? All of these things. And again, I asked her, if they were like the perfect client, if they came to you, if they did all the work, and if you were at your highest self, which is work that you can always be doing on yourself. But if you were your highest self, would you feel certain in giving this result? And her answer was yes. And here's the thing, is you are working with human beings that have a diverse set of needs and the way that they do things. So everyone is going to have a process. And instead of, if somebody doesn't always get a result, or if somebody is struggling with your process of doing things, it's just an opportunity for you to problem solve. It's just an opportunity for you to look inside yourself and be like, if I knew that I was good enough, how would I fix this problem? Because the difference is you could actually end up self-sabotaging yourself and feeling like shit because you're internalizing that same story of I'm not good enough. If somebody is not getting results, you are going to internalize that as I'm not good enough. But instead, if you always knew that you were good enough, how would you just problem solve for that problem? Because as a coach, as a service provider, as an entrepreneur, you are in the business of solving problems. So it is not about you being a perfect ass human being. It is about you being able to notice the issues that are coming up, especially as you are helping somebody get to the result you're helping them get, and solving problems along the way. So again, let's recalibrate back to making it like stupid simple, like as simple as you possibly can. And I really think that, again, this lack of clarity in our messaging is the inner child wound of being misunderstood. It is feeling like we are never understood by other people. So then we tell ourselves, I don't even understand me. How can somebody else understand me? So if you are having those thoughts about yourself in terms of, oh my God, I feel like there's no clarity in my messaging and I don't even know how I help people, that is your fearful brain zooming out on everything that's wrong. And now you just need to zoom back in and be like, okay, what's one thing I can do to help simplify this process? I'm going to think of one person who I help. So who do I help? And what is the result that I can get for them? So who do I help? What's the result that I can get for them? Just pick one and go from there. And again, remember that your clarity in your messaging comes from the clarity in your mind. So if you are confused about what results you offer, who you're speaking to, those two key things are going to really impact how you show up. And if you feel confused on those things, then it's going to affect how you're speaking to your audience. So I want you to dump out, I am confused about blank when it comes to my messaging, and just dump it all out, and really take the time to look at it and talk about it with a business bestie or your coach or whoever you want, in terms of just really identifying that your lack of clarity with yourself is going to come through when you are doing your messaging. So you can't look outside of yourself for this. You know what I mean? Like if you are constantly looking at like copywriters or whatever you want in terms of how do I solve this problem, it is always within you, and you have to be clear about what you do, how you do it, what results that you are helping people get. And that comes from your own clarity. And another thing, if you are neurodivergent as well, is help yourself by not changing everything. So I talk about this a lot on the podcast in terms of like when you are seeking dopamine from like specifically from your business, you are going to change things. You're going to want to mix things up. You're going to want to change your Instagram bio. Did I just call you out? I just called myself out. You're going to want to change everything because you're convinced that the answer is something that is new and something that you haven't done yet. But really challenge yourself to get as simple as possible and go from there, expand from there. But if you get really simple, you will learn to create so much content around the simplicity of just that one result. Like, for example, if I am helping people feel good enough to run a business, have a business, or like sign high ticket clients, if I just am thinking about that, I can think of how to do that in this scenario, how to do that in that scenario, what affects your ability to get that result. I think about all those things instead of thinking I have to solve all of their problems in the world. I have to solve this problem and this problem and this problem. That is what your containers are for. Inside of your containers is where you can address all the things, where you can use all the tools and do all that stuff. But with your messaging and with your marketing, simplicity is key. Simplicity will make things so much easier. And it will help you feel like an expert because you are very clear on how to help somebody and the result that you are helping them get. Okay, so clarity in your messaging is really just clarity in your mind and clarity with your thoughts about what you do and how you help somebody. And remember too that you may have this inner child wound of being misunderstood, and just like everything else, it is potentially just a story that you are telling yourself about that people don't understand me. But that has to come from you learning to understand yourself. So as always, the work that you do behind the scenes and on yourself is going to be paramount to how you show up in your business. And if you want to do this work with me, we dig deep, we do it all, and it comes out through sales and clear messaging and clarity in your brain and in your business. And it comes through in signing high ticket clients and growing to a 6-figure business. And we do that all in one-to-one coaching. So you can go to the link in my show notes and book a sales call for 6 months of one-to-one coaching. And I can't wait to meet you. Bye. Thanks for listening to the From Imposter to Empowered podcast. Head to the show notes to find out how you can take this work deeper with me in one-to-one coaching or in my lifetime group coaching program, The Worthy Woman Method. In the show notes, you'll also find a free 3-day challenge to start the process of overcoming your inner imposter. And once you're done with that, screenshot this episode and share it on Instagram, tagging me at YourCoachJill so we can connect. See you next time.